Hello everyone, MarkyJoe1990 here. So, quite a few people have been asking me what are the results of Ragefest 4, and, well, here they are. I took all the votes, tallied them up, put them on a sheet, and organized them, and look, it's all organized and stuff. Yay! So, in case it's difficult to, understand what you're looking at, basically, each row is a submission. Like Emblem Warriors, how much, and then these are the awards, and then these are how much votes that submission got in that particular department. Like, for example, Emblem Warriors won Strategist, FSR EXE won Sadist, Innovator won, Emblem Warriors won Innovator. Blue is second place, and red is third place. In my opinion, if you got less than 10 votes, that's, I consider that, not consistent enough to be counted. But, you know, that's... votes are still votes. Take it as you would, you know? So, what can we say about this? It's clear that a lot of people thought Emblem Warriors was a very, gameplay submission. Very good at its gameplay. Here's the part where I get to explain my opinions. I personally think that Lynn's Revenge was the most strategic submission. Emblem Warriors was definitely, it had a very original idea, which is why I definitely think it deserves the Innovator Award. But I think one of the issues it suffers is that there were expanses and spaces where not a whole lot was going on. And while I don't like submissions that, really force you to do things the way it intends you, I wasn't a fan of Moneyman's Last Stand for that reason. I do want a submission that does push you and keep you consistently invested. And I felt like Lynn's Revenge did that very well. Lynn's Revenge also did something else I really like. I really like thinking of ways to do things more efficiently. I like using the Cavaliers and doing rescue chains, and that stuff is really fun to me. And I get a huge amount of satisfaction from, planning stuff. Even though I generally hate planning, you know? Yeah, I mean, I also, the other submission I heavily considered for my personal pick for the Strategist Award is Trapped in Painful Places. Because that's a submission that's unique in that it makes you think about how to manipulate the terrain in your favor, and it's also very non-combat focused. It's more about, positioning and unit placement. That is also a really good way to design a submission, in my opinion. Being because each unit in a way represents your control over a specific area, and the idea is to basically seize control of these areas and gain momentum, and I like that. The only thing, the one thing that was holding it back from getting the award, for me at least, is that once you get to part 2, things kind of fall apart, and, I mean, everybody friggin' knows that. I like a submission that's consistently stimulating from beginning to end. Sadist Award, I mean, nobody's gonna argue that F-Star EXE definitely did Sadist Award better than anything else. Interestingly enough, people also voted Mark's Precious, but I don't think Mark's Precious was intentionally sadistic. I think the guy just, he had an idea, he wanted to make something fun, and he just, there was some things that he overlooked. So yeah, I mean, there's that. F-Star EXE is, I think, I didn't like it, but I think it's a very important submission. I think the submission is a reality check. Because I've always made this contest under the ideal that, people would make submissions that would generate lots of humor and would challenge me. And I like things that are difficult, and I also like it when things, piss me off and generate humor for the public, and they're like, oh my god, that's ridiculous. But here's the thing, that's also, sadism and making your game not fun, essentially, is degenerative to, I think it's conflicting to what the community wants. Like, back in Ragefest 1, I don't think people had lots of expectations, but as the series went on, I think people were expecting submissions more along the lines of Ragefest Revengeance, and I think that's why Ragefest Revengeance won. People are looking for things that are fair and funny, rather than things that are frustrating and funny, you know? So yeah, that was a good reality check. I think F*XE is very important to the history of Ragefest, because like, in future Ragefests, I'm definitely going to impose a rule that discourages sadism, and I won't have a sadism award. And, like, that, I think that will help the contest in the long run. So I think Pwnage Kirby, I gave her a lot of shit because it made me really, like, upset in a way that was unique. And as much shit as I gave her, I think she did the right thing. Because it was only a matter of time before somebody else tried to go for it and made something really bad, and then, like, you know, I had to be humbled. Okay, so Innovate Award. Emblem Warriors, no contest there. However, I would like to say that Ender Slicer's Escape definitely deserved more credit. I think the reason why Ender Slicer's Escape didn't have much impact with people was mainly that it was just unambitious. Like, it had one idea, it stuck to it, which is good, but I definitely got the sense like he could have done a little more, like maybe add more complications to it, like maybe an extra unit that you have to use the torch glitch with, you know, just stuff like that that could have like really realized the potential of the gimmick of using this glitch. I also felt that Arrow. Oh, you know what? I should have mentioned Arrow in the Wind with strategy. Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Artist Award. Tale of Pert, like, people voted for it, but I'd like to point out that the map design in some areas is kind of lacking. Where it excels at is no doubt the animations, and it has decent portraits too. Like, I definitely think Avraxis, if you were to ask him, he'd say, yeah, I could do better than that. And he definitely can. He's like an insanely good artist. He just struggles with like sprite art, to my understanding. But yeah, like I feel like Trapped in Painful Places. Like, I personally think that should have won the Artist Award, and it's more because of the artistic direction more so than like any specific quality. Like the parts culminate together to create a sum that's greater than its parts. I think that's the terminology. Yeah, because like if you look at the first map, it looks really nice. It's very interesting. He also had really funny animations for me, and there was also the music. He changed the music to create sort of a unique, distinctly him kind of atmosphere. Like this is something that's definitely made by Alisk. And I think that's fascinating. That's unique. It's interesting. And then part 2 comes in, and objectively it looks bad, but it makes sense within the context of what it's doing. It's trying to create sort of like a mindfuck purgatory, and it works perfectly. So I definitely would have given Trapped in Painful Places the Artist Award. Animator Award, Tale of Pert, no contest. We didn't even see all the animations in that game. That's freaking crazy. Did you know that the boss has an animation for the final boss has an animation for all the weapons he uses, like unique ones? It's crazy. He put so much effort into it just so that I could accidentally get lucky and kill it on the first turn. That's fucked up. Like, oh man, that's so sad. I mean, he still won the Animator Award, but he, like, even that doesn't feel like enough, you know? He definitely should have gotten, like, people need to look at his video where he showed the animations, definitely. Portraits. Portraits is kind of a weird one for me. Tale of Pert had a lot of splices. Title here had a couple custom portraits, and they were very good, especially the racing one. Let me think for a moment about the other ones. Trapped in Painful Places didn't have, like, a lot of new portraits. Emblem Wars didn't use any. Mark's Precious had a lot of new portraits. I'm surprised that one didn't get more credit. Like, only 5 votes. That doesn't make sense to me, you know? F-Star EXE, Ponish Kirby isn't much of an artist, but she does have, like, people doing art for her, and something I didn't show in the Part 3, like, the Part 3 footage was never shown, but there was a lot of really cool other, like... Oh, wait, no, sorry. Yeah, we saw Yukari's portrait, so I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm not decided on who wins the portrait award from me, personally. But I definitely think Title Here and Tale of Pert are the highest contenders. And maybe F-Star EXE. Architect Award, okay. Huh. Alright, best looking map. Trapped in Painful Places definitely, like, had a really good Part 1 map. Emblem Warriors had a pretty nice map, but it's a bit too symmetrical for my liking. Like, I prefer something that seems a little more, like, organic and natural. Moneyfest, that one had a pretty cool map. Lynn's Revenge had a dumb map. Well, again, I'm judging based on appearances, not on gameplay. Title Here also had a really good map. Honestly, I'm not sure which one I would pick. I guess Ragefest Revengeance, because it definitely feels like a map that's lived in. Like, there's a lot of, like, there's a sense of, like, culture and people. Like, it makes you really think about, like, these people live near this enormous area of ruins. And, like, it makes you wonder, like, ooh, maybe they explore it every now and then or something. I don't know. Actually, that does kind of raise other questions, but let's not get into that. Audiophile Award. Okay. Trapped in Painful Places was a really good choice. Tale of Pert was also a really good choice. Some of Tale of Pert's well, I think some of Tale of Pert's choices were a little, like, uneven. Like, sometimes it would bring in, like, the Hector early game player phase music. And I felt like what it could have done is, like, just had... It could have had a more consistent sound to it. Like, maybe something more, like, epic and grandiose. Kind of reflective of the first map's player phase theme. Let's see. Trapped in Painful Places, really good with the audio. Ragefest Revengeance, yes. Like, the music choices in that were fantastic. You know what? I'm gonna give it to that one. I'm just gonna quickly look over the other ones. Angel of Darkness didn't have bad choices either, so... But I think that Ragefest Revengeance had more, like, artistic, cohesiveness. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, like, artistic cohesiveness. So, yeah, there's that. F-Star EXE definitely deserves credit for, the hilarious Marky Joe samples, which are just so... just thinking about them just makes me laugh. It's funny, like, tasty! God, it's so absurd. It tickles me on a level that's, like, very, like, I can't describe it. Writer Award. Ragefest for Revengeance, definitely. It's the only one that, like made me go, like, oh, no, like, ooh. And also, like, the plot investment, like, there was something about it. It was just so... It was honest, I guess. Like, this was how he actually felt. The only thing is that I didn't like how he kind of copped out with the whole, like, oh, evil Lynn's alive. He's told me many times that he's like, well, I wanted it to be ambiguous, not so much like she survived or not. And, you know, I'm sure he'll defend himself in the comments. He's entitled to it, like, you know. Let's see. Tale of Pert also really had really good writing. I felt like it was held back by the memes thing, like its usage of memes and pop culture. But I also feel like it used them well at times too. Like a good example, and this really shouldn't be relevant, but I went and replayed Tale of Pert, and Avrax has actually updated it. You guys should play it because, like, there's new content in it. And when you go into the house, how to be like a meme generator or whatever, you actually get a book that's called Dank Memes, and Original can use it. And it's this super ridiculous, overpowered tome, and when he uses it. It uses the Fimble Vetter animation, but it uses like air horns and other stupid shit, and it's really fucking funny. And a really funny attention to detail is that he actually made it super effective against me and the final boss, which makes sense, because I hate memes. To me, memes are such a, like, they're so cancerous to authenticity that, like, using that on me just makes so much sense. Like, that attention to detail is just good. I like that shit. Really, I should be talking about the Jester Award when it comes to things like that. Lynn's Revenge, I think, like, Lynn's Revenge is a hack that tickled me on sort of a more emotional level rather than on a thinking level. I think that's the best way I can describe things that, like, reach me on a irrational level, just like how I felt. And Lynn's Revenge is just so unapologetically stupid that it's hard to not, enjoy it. But it's not exactly something that connects to you on an emotional level. I think that's kind of the folly of a lot of these, is that you don't really feel compelled by the characters. Like, even if they have, like, a sympathetic motivation. Like, Money Man's Last Stand, the dude is, like, Alan's just like, oh, I gotta get out of here. But it's not something that's necessarily, like his own doing. It's sort of thrust upon him, and he's just sort of like, oh, shit, I gotta do this. I think with Ragefest Revengeance, the fact that this is all caused by me being gullible and trusting kind of gives you more, like, it makes Mark more relatable, I guess. And it makes you root for him as he tries to undo his mistake in a way. And then when he wins and Evil Lynn's like, oh, I just wanted to be with you one last time. Like, that hits home, Jester Award. Lynn's Revenge is super funny. Don't get me wrong, but I think Tales of Pert was funnier. Because I went and replayed them, and like, I feel like Tale of Pert has, like, more wit to it. Lynn's Revenge makes me laugh because of how stupid it is, but on replays, I sort of, like, it didn't tickle me as much. Tale of Pert, that's just it. Like, I was able to appreciate the wit of the humor more. That's it, really. Like, Emblem Warriors also had a really funny joke with the Money Man. Probably one of the funniest Money Man jokes in existence, alongside Ragefest Revengeance. But I think I'm going to give that one to Emblem Warriors for funniest Money Man joke. Let's see. Angel of Darkness was also pretty funny, but sort of. Like, I wouldn't say it was, like, super funny. It felt a little try-hard. I think that's the best way to explain it, is that, like, it was authentic, but it was also a little, like, it was trying hard. You know what, that doesn't make any sense. Also, the music just ended. Alright, let's move on to the next part of the symphony. Yeah, Angel of Darkness, blah, 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 Jester, funny. I think the best way to explain it is that it was authentic, but it was not super witty. And I don't mind things that aren't witty, as Lynn's Revenge demonstrates, but Lynn's Revenge is, like, so absurdly unwitty that just kind of, like, it just really taps into my funny bone, Let's see. Angel of Darkness probably could have done with being less self-aware, maybe, or, like, just being less self-conscious. I know that's the same thing. Somebody described Arrow in the Wind as being, like, shitpost humor. Like, somebody said, oh, I really love how this is such a shitpost humor game. I didn't see that, honestly. Like, I went back to it and I was like, I'm not sure where the shitposting goes in. Like, when I think shitposting, I think people who are, like, who just write something that's so absurdly offensive and politically incorrect that's just funny as hell. Kind of like, oh man, there's this song on YouTube where they take the DuckTales theme and they turn it into, like, this really racist thing. look up Sam Smith, Stay With Me, and then look for a thumbnail with like DuckTales on it and stuff. It is super racist, but oh my god, it's funny as hell. Let's see. Money Man's Last Stand. Money Man's Last Stand. You can tell he was trying to be funny, but it just, like, you get the joke, it just doesn't connect. Let's see. Just quickly, Array of Randomness, I want to say one thing, alright? It didn't make me laugh very much, but there's this one joke that I find really friggin' hilarious. And it's the one where if you try to stand on the arena, and then Blade Hero's like, oh, you're not supposed to use the arena, game over. And then he, like, brags about how awesome he is, and then suddenly reality just kind of warps in, and his mom just is like, Blade Hero, pancakes. It's just so funny, because it really does, like, juxtapose how ridiculous this situation is. Like, he's getting so excited about defeating me in such a petty way, and then reality just jumps in and reminds you that this is stupid. And that's what makes it so funny, like that one joke. Alright, I need to stop talking about the Jester Award. Like, I feel like Tale of Perd is the winner for that one. Kogasa, the Kogasa Award. So for those of you who don't know, Kogasa Tatara is a Toho character, and her ability is to surprise people. I sort of used her as, like, basically, like, ooh, surprise. So basically, this award was for submissions that, like, really did a good job surprising you. Obviously, Ragefest Revengeance did a good job with this, because it set our expectations that it was a shitty hack. Like, because it was all crappy and stuff at first. But then, once you defeat the first boss, and Evil Lyn reveals her true colors, like, suddenly the hack takes a huge jump up in quality, and that's a really good way to take people off guard. That's a very strong and risky artistic statement, you know? I don't necessarily want people to continue that trend, because it's such an original idea, and I'm worried that people are going to use it. Well, you know what? I'm not worried that people are going to use it. I'm worried that people are going to misuse it. They're going to miss the point. And then end up with something that sucks through and through. Lyn's Revenge also surprised me personally, because you go into it, it surprised both me and Mangs, honestly. We both expected something terrible, but it ended up being something that was very, like, that had a lot of logic behind it, and a lot of, like, it was clearly play-tested and carefully contemplated over, and polished to that degree. It only gives off the impression of being, like, shitty and unpolished, because that's what the map design looks like. And I like that. I like being surprised, but I also like it when people... There's a certain charm to making something that looks bad but functions good. Because, like, if you look at newer games, for example, it's hard to tell, like, what you can interact with or not. Whereas with older games, like, since there's such a limited graphic set, they usually have to use very clear, distinct graphics, like, this is a grass tile, this is a tree tile. They don't have, like, this is multiple trees, or this is a single tree, which would make it, like, ambiguous. And that's part of the charm of, like, having a bad-looking map that functions well, is that, like, it's easy to understand. Not that this is something I would recommend people do. I do encourage that most people just stick to, like, making good maps, and only make something bad if they really know what they're doing. Let's see. Trapped in Painful Places, I think that surprised me in a way that it shouldn't have. Like, it started out good, but then you get to the second part and you're surprised at how unpolished it is. So I don't think that, like, I think that's sort of a bad kind of surprise. But again, I want to be clear, Trapped in Painful Places is one of my favorite submissions of this contest. It did not get enough credit. I actually plan on having awards at the end of this where I'm just like, least appreciated, most underrated, and so on and so forth. Trapped in Painful Places, definitely gets the underappreciated award. Okay, anyway, what else surprised me? Tale of Pert didn't surprise. I had a certain, like, this strong intuition that Tale of Pert was going to be a good submission, and I was right. I think it would have been more surprising if I didn't expect it to be good. Like if he pulled an Effie Lover 3, where, like, he consistently made bad submissions, and then suddenly makes one that's, like, very coherent. Still bad, but coherent and really funny. Let's see. Mark's Precious, Money Man's Last Stand, Distortion. I realize that I'm taking a very long time to talk about all this stuff. Arrow in the Wind, Array of Randomness, Ragefest Revengeance, obviously, okay. Memes Award, okay. I intentionally made this award because I wanted Angel of Darkness to be recognized for something. Because if you look at that stream, people are really, like, getting into the submission, like, during the downtime where I'm just thinking shit over. People are, like, really coming up with just crazy, absurd ideas to kind of just, like, be like, oh, Halberdiers. Oh, Char. Angel of Darkness, like, I definitely think it deserved that award. Though Tale of Pert definitely deserves it, too. Because, like, Tale of Pert deserves it because it did it through its own writing, whereas Angel of Darkness, I feel like it was because of the nature of the submission and people, like, reaching for ideas that it became sort of a meme lord submission. Whereas Tale of Port sort of did it off of its own merits, if that makes any sense. Lynn's Revenge is really funny. I'm not surprised it would spawn a meme, but I'm not sure how long people are going to remember the "yeah boy" thing. I hope it lasts, because that's funny as shit. Emblem Warriors, I didn't see much meminess to that. Meminess. Alright, so Commentary Award. Lynn's Revenge definitely deserves a Commentary Award. Because while I was recording that footage, it was the one where I felt least compelled to edit things out. And you can sort of see that with the first two videos, is just I sort of let things roll. I don't edit anything out because Mangs and I, to my surprise, have really good chemistry. And I am interested in doing more commentaries on him, with him. Sorry, not on him. Let's not have another one of those, like, face rub videos, where I just... Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I made myself look like an idiot with that video. I'm just gonna be straight up, like, oh, don't do that. Like, and then I don't realize, like, shit, I'm fucking irrational as all fuck. Yeah. Alright, let's not make it about that, alright? I don't want to get hung up on it. Yeah, Mangs and I have really good chemistry. I mean, there's not much else to say. Like, I mean, he is experienced in doing commentary, so it doesn't surprise me. We disagree on things, though, and that's sort of, like, I wondered maybe that would have, like, a robot, but he's really good at improvisation and stuff. Tale of Pert, I also felt Tale of Pert had really good commentary. Like, I looked back on the video and I was like, I have some really funny things to say here. Ragefest Revengeance, I'm not sure. Like, I didn't feel like my commentary was particularly strong on that one. I can't explain why. It's the commentary I sort of watch the least. I can't explain why, though. Angel of Darkness. Angel of Darkness, once, like, when I edited out the footage, I think it fared a lot better. F-Star EXE, I think I was awful because I just couldn't take the time to really, like, think about what I wanted to say because I was too busy trying to play well. Because anytime you let your guard down in that submission, you just get fucked. That's just how it is. Array of Randomness. Array of Randomness, this is going to be a controversial thing, I think. There were a couple people who actually really liked that commentary because of how awkward it was. And how much Blade Hero and I kind of differ. Like, he seemed very confident in his submission, and I was like, I wasn't confident in his submission, and you could sort of like that sort of conflict kind of made it interesting. But at the same time, I also think that it was kind of lame that like it was like I didn't want to make Blade Hero look bad. It's just that he wanted to be part of the commentary, and I was like, all right, well, I mean, we could give it a shot. I don't normally do that with people, but I just thought like, oh, you know what? He does commentaries too. He's a very eccentric guy, so maybe this will work, and it kind of worked. I just, you know, I didn't want to embarrass him, you know. But yeah, I guess just take it for what it is. Some people will enjoy it, some won't. I personally enjoy it, but sort of for like the wrong reasons, and that's not cool of me. I'm just gonna be straight up with it. Arrow in the Wind. All I remember for that commentary is that there was this one part where I was just so pissed off, and I just decided to take the image of like being utterly overwhelmed by dragons and posting it on Twitter. And I went back to that tweet, and it has like 14 favorites. That's awesome. Like, that's probably my most favorited tweet. And I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's funny. And that's like, it's like it was made during the commentary. Like that's like it's like evidence that it happened almost. It's like a footprint of a dinosaur. Like, oh, Jesus is real. Not sure how you would come to that conclusion based on a dinosaur print, but like, all right. Anyway, Enterprise's Escape. No, commentary wasn't that good. Distortion was hindered by like technical difficulties more than anything, but it was really funny to beat the submission. Just sort of like that, just like Longbow Wallace destroyed Narshan. Moneyman's Last Stand, I spent too much time thinking about what the hell to do. Mark's Precious is a good commentary if you like seeing me really just irrationally fucking angry. That's what it's good at. Let's see. Tale of Pert, good commentary. Title here. Mari Tisa says she really liked that commentary. I haven't really looked back on it, but Mari and I have really good, like, talking chemistry. So it doesn't surprise me that... Well, it surprises me that people didn't really like it all that much, like, judging by the votes. Or maybe it was just overshadowed by other choices, like, maybe it was their second place pick, but, you know, second place doesn't get you votes. Money Fests. Oh no, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm good when I'm drunk. Lynn's Revenge. Obviously talked about that. Trapped in Painful Places. I think Trapped in Painful Places was sort of a train wreck by part 2, but everything before them was enjoyable. Emblem Warriors. I really liked my enthusiasm during that, like my fascination and intrigue about the submission. And I think that's why it got a little more votes, because, like, people like when I'm positive. Yeah, like, people just like it when I'm positive. Like, I think that's a huge, like, a pretty big factor on why Ragefest Revengeance won the viewer's choice, because, like, when I'm positive, people tend to look upon the submission very favorably. Which, you know, I guess that explains why Lynn's Revenge was received better than I thought it was going to be received. Because I was more impressed with it than I would be initially. So, viewer's choice. People picked Ragefest Revengeance. I was really hoping for a tie here between Tale of Pert and Ragefest Revengeance. And as good as Emblem Warriors is, I didn't want it to win the contest because I like to believe that anybody can win the contest. Regardless of if you're a veteran or not. Though, come to think of it, there is a logical fallacy in that. Like, if you're a veteran, you should have just as good a chance as anybody. And Ephraim's been at this every single contest. Maybe, I don't know, like, I definitely see that. I like to believe that anybody who's new to the contest has a good chance to win because nobody has expectations of them. and they have a very good chance of blowing people away. I like to see that. I like to see the new guy come in and sort of like shake up the status quo in a sense. I guess that's like, so maybe I don't want to believe that veterans can win the contest. They should have just as much a chance because that is fair. But me personally, I like to see somebody come out of nowhere and make an awesome submission and blow everybody away. Like, that's just my... It's not a good opinion to have. So don't, like... I feel like you should take that with a grain of salt. I like the status quo being shaken up. I also feel like Ragefest Revengeance... Like, I also want to point out that Ragefest Revengeance took a lot of influence from Ephraim's previous submissions. Especially with the whole, like, sense of world building. Like, creating this environment with lots of things in it that can happen. Also, I realized I turned the music's done. Yeah, just like stuff like that. I think I should strive to be more fair and be less biased in favor of newcomers. I'll have to think about that very deeply because, yeah. Now, what's my personal pick for like my favorite submission? You'd have to hold a fucking gun to my head for me to make a choice because I love Tale of Pert. I love Ragefest Revengeance. I feel like Tale of Pert and Ragefest Revengeance excel in different areas. Tale of Pert is more about like putting you in gimmicky situations where you have to find a specific strategy that works for you. It's also very focused on lighthearted, non-serious humor. And just getting a jolly old laugh out of the person playing it. Ragefest Revengeance is more about creating an atmosphere in a world that makes you feel immersed, and makes you feel compelled and interested, more than it is about making you laugh. They excel in different areas, and Ragefest Revengeance I also feels more like a classic Fire Emblem chapter, where like the enemies are placed carefully, but not in a way that's like overly deliberate. Like it's not like Money Man's Last Stand where everything is extremely deliberate, and it's not like Tale of Pert where like it leans more on the deliberate side at certain points because of the gimmickiness of the submission. So yeah, like, I understand why Ragefest Revengeance won. I personally think that Tale of Pert and Ragefest Revengeance are the best submissions we've ever had in this contest. They're both better than Matthew's Nightmare. I consider them both better than Rondo of Madness. And to be clear, those are very fantastic submissions. But I think these are a new high, a new standard for Ragefest. When people do Ragefest 5, I really hope they look at Ragefest Revengeance and Tale of Pert for inspiration. I also want them to look at Emblem Warriors for inspiration, because innovation is very important for the community. People need to come up with new ideas and sort of put them in the context of like a conventional Fire Emblem game, like a chapter-based game, instead of like in Ragefest. I would really like to see people do that. Many people said, "Oh, Emblem Warriors, that seems like it would be make a really good full hack." Many people were just like, "Whoa, let's do that," and I think that could work. And that's really what it all boils down to. I also think that Lynn's Revenge should be important to the contest as well, like important for future contests. Because while you can have wits and stuff, there's nothing wrong with, just doing something that's so audaciously stupid that people can't help but laugh at it. It's like Lynn's Revenge is the Beavis and Butthead of Ragefest. I think that's the best way to put it. It's just so enjoyably stupid. It's not like Dumb and Dumber where it's like it's trying too hard to be stupid. This is like, it doesn't care that it's stupid. It enjoys being stupid, So yeah, I guess we'll get into like the Marky Joe specific awards, alright? So my personal pick for best submission, Tale of Pert, Ragefest for Vengeance. I'm not gonna pick between them. I'm a fucking... I'm friends with both of them too. Like, that makes it even harder. Like, I like these people as people. And, you know, you can't make me pick. No, just fuck you. Sorry. Yeah, so, underappreciated award. Trapped in Painful Places, hands down. Honestly, that's the only award I could think of when I was working on this. Like, underappreciated. Well, okay. I'll take this time to look at each submission and think which ones got overlooked and what did they do well. Alright, so Emblem Warriors, I think Emblem Warriors got everything it deserved. Strategist and Innovator. Definitely, like, I personally think Lid's Revenge deserves Strategist more, but I can see why Emblem Warriors got it instead. Trapped in Painful Places, underappreciated. Definitely, like, you know, strong artistic direction and strong audio direction. Lid's Revenge feels the most like what I would have made when I was still working on Fire Emblem. Moneyfest! Damn! Moneyfest has this interesting idea of, like, micro games, in a way. Like, it's like Fire Emblem micro games, like WarioWare, Fire Emblemware. Like, the idea of, like, I think it'd be really cool to have a mission where you have a whole bunch of, like, mini-maps. And when you complete one, you go to another one that's determined by random, selection. Randomized selection. Like, I think that'd be a really cool submission. Of course, we can also just stick with, like, a preset path and just have all of them be, like, their own mini-challenges that you need to have very careful placement in order to conquer. I think Moneyfest definitely deserved more credit. Title Here. Title Here is very, like, I'm not a fan of submissions that have the only one strategy kind of thing going on, but it can work. I feel like Lid's Revenge gives you enough leeway, but on top of that, it also, like, it's very clear to understand what you did wrong. Title Here, you could do the wrong thing and not know until several turns later, and then you won't know what that wrong thing is. And that's also a problem with Money Man's Last Stand, is that it's hard to tell where you messed up. Also, there was too much variance in it, with the poison and occasionally getting hit with critical hits. I think what Siraxis, and Ashley need to work on is just, like, making something that's more concise, something with that's more generous with checkpoints, and something that, like, has more leeway, or at the very least, completely, like, if they're gonna make something that's super strict, completely remove the RNG and make everything super consistent. Tale of Pert got everything it deserved. Mark's Precious, I feel like this is a crazy thing. Mark's Precious inspired Evil Egg Waffle to want to make a Fire Emblem hack. Do you have any idea how hard that is? I would never have been able to convince him of that. FDR Star gets the Evil Egg Waffle Inspiration Award. That's what it gets. Holy shit, FDR Star, you win a fucking award for motivating Evil Egg Waffle to do something. That's just insane. Congratulations. And I also feel like Mark's Precious is gonna be, like, a submission that a lot of people look at. Like, they'll be like, oh, it's not a great submission. But, man, it really inspires people to do something. Because now everybody wants to figure out what Mark's Precious is. Everybody wants to make their own theory. And I think that's super cool. I can't wait for, like, if FDR Star makes us another submission, I look forward to it, definitely. Because FDR Star, like, firstly, he's a champ. He can take criticism. He can take me irrationally fucking tearing apart his submission and be like, yes, I understand what I did wrong. And your emotions are justified even if they're a bit much. Like, he's a good sport. And I think that next contest he's going to greatly improve and make something really good. At least I'm rooting for him to make something really good. If he doesn't, that's super sad, but I want to see it happen. Money Man's Last Stand. Hmm. I think Pontagonist just needs to make something that's more loose and more conventional. Like, I'm not a fan of like puzzle Fire Emblem, especially when it's done to that extreme. That's really it. I know that he can make something good. It's just I think he just needs to do something that's more freeform and less like calculated and deliberate. Something that allows for more organic play styling. Well, organic playing rather. Distortion. Oh man, I feel bad for Distortion, because it won absolutely nothing, alongside Ender Slicer's Escape and Array of Randomness. But I do feel like Distortion had a lot of very clear problems. The dialogue felt very inorganic. The map looked nice, but it wasn't well designed. Enemy positioning really didn't matter much because you could just stay at the beginning of the stage and wait for the enemies to rush you, and then when you get rid of the ones that rush you, the rest just stay in place until you get in their range. And considering your main character gets warped back to the start frequently, it almost encourages that kind of play style. But even more damning is that it wasn't playtested properly because there's a lot of glitches that crash the game, including one where Reeve is a boss in the game, and he has a staff that crashes the game. And it has very high range, and if you want to avoid it, you have to kill him on the in a single round of combat, and that's very hard to do because he has high stats. And if you fail to do to even do that, you have to have more movement than he has range at all, and that's nuts. Like, you have to be able to jump in on him before he has a chance to do anything at all, and that's just rough, you know? Yeah, so Distortion, I definitely think, I feel bad, but it does deserve its placement, unfortunately. Ender Slicer's Escape, I think, was underappreciated, but I also feel like it could have afforded to be a bit more ambitious and, have more stuff in it. I think that's really the only thing that held it back. But I also appreciate that he was able to, that the creator, Random Swordmaster, had the sense to not be, not to do something over-ambitious, because that tends to be the problem with a lot of Ragefest submissions, is that sometimes they're too ambitious and they don't have enough ideas to fill it up. Or they don't have enough time and motivation to really fine-tune everything. And I appreciate that about Random Swordmaster, is that he had reasonable, logical goals, practical goals. It's just a matter of, raising those aspirations a little higher and framing it in such a way that he can make it work in a practical sense. Arrow in the Wind. Arrow in the Wind is definitely, I liked that it had a very strategic element to it. It is the first chapter in any Fire Emblem hack that has convinced me that you can get away with making a single unit chapter that is strategic. Because think about it for a moment. You have a unit and you have several enemies, and their movements, most of their AI is based on where you are on the map. And each space that you can move on the map alters the way several of these enemies move towards you. And that creates a whole bunch of combinations on how the gameplay can play out. So it actually has that sort of replayability, without having more than one unit. And I think that's a really impressive feat. Arrow in the Wind deserved a lot of credit for that. Because, it made me think. And that, that's super impressive to me, to just have one unit and still have it have, a legitimate challenge. I definitely think it could have done with being more intuitive, though, and more clear on, how the enemy behavior is, because it was, it was very difficult to figure out, just straight up. Array of Randomness. The problem with that submission is that it's just too derivative and not refined. I definitely think it deserved its place, where it is. I definitely think Blade Hero, what you need to focus on is just just more carefully analyze how everything connects and interacts with each other. Yeah, like, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Ragefest and Revengeance, I'm just gonna skip over because we all know what it is. Like, that's fantastic submission. Angel of Darkness. What that could have improved on, the main problem is that the beginning, it kind of has that classic bad chapter syndrome where you have all these units who rush you at the start, and then when you defeat them, the rest just sort of stay in place, and there's not really much that's, like, challenging you or preventing you from using a very simple, easy strategy. The other problem is that, similar to Mark's Precious, the enemy is just too strong offensively. They have too many attack options to attack you safely, and they deal more damage than you, so it becomes very annoying to deal with them because you have to play extremely defensively, which can become very boring. F-Star EXE. Opponent's Kirby is extremely, like, rational and logical. Like, she did this, she sought out to do a specific thing, and she successfully did it. And really, I feel it's more my fault that it ended up the way it did, because I have a contest that encourages sadism. So, like, that's really it. Like, Ponage Kirby, if I had given better instruction on how to make a submission, she would have made something that was significantly more fun to play than this. And that's just what it boils down to. So, man, this was a 51-minute long video. I apologize. I didn't expect it to be so long, but I guess I just had a lot to say, you know? So, hopefully you guys look at this, and I hope that this is very helpful to you guys, because I really do look forward to a day where we can do Ragefest 5, and like where the community has, you know, higher aspirations but more practical goals on how to make, you know, good Fire Emblem chapters and so on and so forth, you know? In a way, I feel that Ragefest, even though it encourages sadism, and sometimes, like, as it is right now, it encourages bad designs, I also feel that it's also the forefront of, like, where people can, like, sort of look at it and be like, ooh, interesting ideas, let's take a look at that. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Like, that's not necessarily backed in facts, it's just how I feel. Like, Ragefest is a popular thing, but I don't feel like most, like, full hacks are all that popular. Like, I don't think, like, it doesn't seem to me, you know what, I'm just gonna shut up, because, you know what, I can't back that up with facts. It's just how I feel, but it's not backed up by any data or anything, and I don't want to make myself look stupid. It's just how people have spoken about it, I guess. Like, they just say, like, Ragefest is like popular in Fire Emblem hacking, yada yada yada. I like to believe that it's what people look to for, like, interesting ideas or, like, inspiration, but it's probably not. And I'm probably an idiot for, like, speaking like that at all. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to end the video on a bad note. I believe that everybody who entered this year has great potential to look at what they did wrong and fix it and make something really great. I believe that any of these guys, if they really put their mind to it, can win the next Ragefest. I really enjoyed that people, like, when they looked at when I played the submission, they were like, yeah, I see what I did wrong. And that sort of introspectiveness is invaluable for being successful in Ragefest. But yeah, hopefully I didn't make myself sound like too much of an idiot. And I'm glad you all listened. Marky Joe 1990 signing out.